Hey folks, welcome to the 30 Days to Learn Adobe After Effects course. My name is Vincent Nguyen, and today in this lesson we're going to be talking about parenting, the benefits of parenting, as well as the use of null objects within After Effects. So here in After Effects, I have two cubes, or two squares I should say, a blue square and an orange square. And today I want to talk about this little panel right here, parenting, this column right here. And if you don't see it, you can right click, go to columns, and select parent. And it's kind of like a hierarchy within Cinema 4D, if you're familiar with Cinema 4D. Basically, you parent one layer to another layer, and it's going to follow along, just like a parent and a child. So, for an example, I have a blue square right here. I'm going to hit P on the keyboard and just animate it. So hit P on the keyboard, hit a stopwatch for the position here. We'll move forward 2 seconds, and I'll just move it down and then to the right. So the blue cube here, or blue square, is just going to move down and to the right. Just like that. Well, what if I wanted the orange to do the exact same thing? Well, yes, you could copy the keyframes here and then paste it into the orange position right here. But what if you had to change the blue one again and so on and so forth, then you have to keep on copying and pasting. You know, if the orange cube or square is going to do the exact same thing as the blue square, why would you want to keyframe both when you can just keyframe one and have one as a child of another? So I'm going to make the blue cube or square here the parent one, so I won't do anything here. But for the orange layer or the orange square, I'm going to tell After Effects that blue is going to be the parent, so follow him. Be a child of blue. So under the parents column here, I'm going to select blue as my parent. So now you can see that wherever blue is going, orange is going as well while staying in its path. So it's not exactly in the same position, but it's following it, doing the same exact movements relative to where it is. So if I move orange over here, it's still going to follow blue in the same fashion. It's going to move with blue in the same way as blue is moving, but in its own path. And that's pretty cool. And if we change the blue position to maybe over here, you know, orange is going to do the exact same thing. So they're hooked up together and they'll do the exact same thing relative to where they are in space. So I'm going to delete this keyframe here. And that's pretty much what parenting does. And you can parent a whole bunch of layers to one layer. And it's just a lot easier to control one layer rather than controlling a whole bunch of layers. So I'm going to delete this keyframe here. And now another way to parent stuff is to pick whip. So for an example, I can take this pick whip right here, click on it and hold it, and you can drag it to blue. And as you can see, it changes the parent from none to blue. And that's just a faster way to pick whip. So instead of selecting the layer, you can just drag it, the pick whip, to the layer. And that's pretty cool. Now, that's just parenting one layer to a layer. You can also parent one parameter to another parameter here. And it's a little bit different. For an example, I have two positions right here. I have blue's position and orange's position here. So remember before when I mentioned pick whipping with the expressions? Well, let's go and take a look at that right now. So if we hold down Alt or Option once again and click on the stopwatch for the position of orange, it's going to bring up the expressions controls for the position of the orange layer. Now we're not really going to be typing any expressions here, except we're going to pick whip. So notice how this icon is the same thing as this icon here. And that's because they're the exact same. It's parenting. So watch what happens when I take this pick whip and pick whip it to blue's position. As you can see, After Effects automatically writes an expression for you, and this is just for convenience. And we'll click away. And notice now that you don't see orange anymore. And that's because orange is in the exact same spot as blue here. As you can see, wherever I move blue, orange is in the exact same place. So orange is right underneath blue here. If I shut off blue, you can see that orange is right there. And wherever we move blue, orange is going to be in the exact same spot. And that's what happens when you parent a specific parameter to another parameter. They're going to link up together. So we parented the position to the position of blue, so they're automatically going to be the same. Now, we can disable the expression by clicking on this little button right here. And it's a little bit different. Remember, if we parent one layer to another, they're going to move relative in their own space. But if we parent a specific parameter to another parameter, then they're going to be the exact same. And remember, this works with all parameters, not just the position, but with the opacity as well, and other parameters, rotation, all that stuff. And as you do more advanced stuff, you'll see why this will come in handy. Just know how they work for now. So that's pretty cool. Let's disable this expression here. Now let's go and take a look at null objects. And null objects behave the same way as they do in 3D applications such as 3ds Max, Cinema 4D. So to create a null object here, let's go to Layer, New, Null Object. So what exactly is a null object? It actually isn't anything. It doesn't exist in your scene. It's not visible. It's kind of like an adjustment layer, except it's an actual layer where you can hook things up to it. So it's kind of like a null. It's kind of like the controller here. And a lot of people use nulls as kind of a base control or a central place for expression controls. And we'll talk more about that a little bit later. But just for now, this is a null object. And it's kind of this kind of empty square here. And this is just there so you can visually see it. But it's not actually in your scene when you render it out. See? The reason why I mentioned null objects in this lesson is because they can be very useful for controlling and adding more variation to layers. If I bring the position of the null here, hit P on the keyboard, and I parent the position of blue to the position of the null, and parent the position of orange to the position of the null. As you can see, the coordinate values here, 640 by 360, the values are red. That means they're tied to an expression. So we can't really move them. So why can't we move them? Because they're linked up to the null's position. So we can't change these because they're the exact same thing as the null. That doesn't really give us a lot of control and flexibility with all the layers. So I'm going to disable the expression here. So let's find another way to link up the null while controlling the position of each individual layer. So again, we can use the parent tool here. So let's go ahead and parent the blue and the orange square to the null. So now the null is a parent to blue and orange. So now wherever we move the null, blue and orange follow, because again, we're linking to the actual layer here, not the position parameter, but the layer. So now the blue and orange follow the null. And that's cool. And remember, they're following the null in its own relative path. So we can actually animate the path while still following the null here. So let me just go ahead and animate the null. Set a keyframe. Go to 2. And we'll move it up and move it to the left here. So just very simple. As you can see, everything follows as such. But we can also animate the position of blue and orange because remember, they're in their own relative space, but they're still following the null. So we can animate blue over here. And at the end, we can move it over here. We move it to the left a little bit. And let's go ahead and animate orange as well. Hit a keyframe. Go to the end here, and we'll just animate it around randomly. So even though the blue and the orange square is still animating on its own, it's still following the null. And that's what we kind of want. The null is kind of like the main control. And again, this will be useful for tracking, which we'll discuss later in the series. And it's just a really nice way to kind of control things and let it be the parent. So null objects don't really do anything. They're kind of just there for you to use whenever you need to use it. Keep that in mind. In the next lesson, we're going to be talking about 3D layers, its reaction to space, and some transform properties that you haven't seen before yet. So look forward to that. Any further questions, don't hesitate to leave me in the comments in the forums. I'll get to them as soon as I can. I know this lesson was kind of a little tricky, a little more complex, but you know, all the boring stuff is over now, and we can work with more fun stuff now. So once again, guys, my name is Vincent Nguyen, and I'll see you guys in the next lesson. Bye, guys.